Welcome to Adeptus On-Air, the show where we examine how individuals and companies make decisions that drive their business and personal success. Each week, we connect with notable professionals who pull back the curtain on the industries that Adeptus has been on the cutting edge of for the last 30 years, including music, sports, and entertainment, as well as new emerging markets.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Adeptus On-Air. I am your host again, Mike Hoffman, and today I am joined by Tarra Stubbins. Tara, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm super
No,
excited to chat.
yeah, me too. You you have a skill set and have developed a career about something that I can definitely use a lot of help with. So selfishly, I am very much looking forward to talking to you, but I also find it interesting, what you do. So you are a celebrity concierge slash personal assistant and a time management professional. Uh, Obviously, of those two things, I'm more focused on the time management professional, what I need help with. The celebrity concierge would probably be a little bit out of what I'm looking for, but you probably have some really good stories, which we could definitely talk about. Uh, how did this happen? Because I know, when I grew up, I was a Jewish guy out of Jersey, and from my mom, it was you're either a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant. That's kind of was always instilled in my head, and I wasn't going to be a doctor and a lawyer, so I kind of defaulted to this. But most people don't grow up saying, "Hey, I'm going to be a time management professional and a celebrity concierge." So, how did we get here?
Well, how much time do we have? No, I'm joking. So when I was younger, I actually had a t-shirt that said, "Remember me, I'm going to be a star." And
Mm-hmm.
I wore that everywhere. And my big dream was to be a rock star. You can see the guitar behind
Mm-hmm.
me. The problem is I have very little musical talent. I think I can play two songs on the guitar. I cannot sing, I cannot dance. And back when I was little, being a rock star to me was like being out on the stage. So
Sure.
I kind of threw that dream away. I was like, oh crap, I don't have any musical talent.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be up there in front of people. I was a really shy kid too. So I was like, this is
that makes it
not
hard.
going to happen. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is not going to happen. So I threw it out. But for some reason, and I tell this story a lot, I really wish I knew why, but some part of me held on to like 0.01% of that dream. And I put it in, my metaphysical back pocket, and I walked around with it for my entire life. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'd forget about it. Days, weeks, months, years would go by. But always at those crossroads in life when I was trying to make a decision, a big
Yeah.
pivotal decision, I would think about it. Oh, yeah, I wanted to be a rock star, but I don't have musical
Yeah.
talent. So I was fascinated with the film and TV industry, and
Mm-hmm.
I took a course at college that I thought I wanted to be in, like the lighting and sound
Mm-hmm.
and technical
Sure.
world. That lasted about 3 months of college, and I was like, nope, not for me. But I really like live events and live theater and
Mm-hmm.
concerts and this music and this kind of rock star dream.
Yeah.
So I took a wonderful internship at a local place, actually in Toronto, where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And they were, somebody couldn't go out on one of the big concerts. His wife went into labor about 2 months early, and they were looking in the shop and they went, who can jump on this tour bus right now and head off? And because I was free labor, I
Yeah.
was an intern. I jumped on the bus and I headed off on the Kenny Rogers tour,
Oh.
actually. And, I was the grunt of all grunts.
Uh-huh.
I got coffee, I did his laundry, I did all the horrible stuff, but I loved it. And I loved being able to help him and his crew, and I could see something there. And because I loved it so much, I put all of my effort into it.
Interesting.
And I became the kind of personal assistant for lots of big bands. I spent 8 years out on the road with the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
I've helped Lady Gaga. And I've helped so many entrepreneurs as well, like Richard Branson, and I've been able to kind of be a sponge
Yeah.
with all of their, time management and success. And I've been fascinated with it.
Interesting.
And yeah, and because
Well,
I was fascinated, yeah, go on.
I was going to say one of the first concerts I went to was actually a Kenny Rogers concert with my parents. So
Hey.
let's get to the important stuff. What's your favorite Kenny Rogers song?
Oh, you're making me pick?
Yeah,
I have.
you could give me a couple.
Okay. Well, okay, so obviously I love The Gambler. I
All
know
right.
it's cliche
All right.
because but it was such an iconic song to listen to
Mm-hmm.
him sing live.
Yeah.
I want to know what's your favorite Kenny Rogers song.
I'm gonna go offline a little bit here
Okay.
from his movie Six Pack. Remember his movie Six Pack?
I don't remember it, but yes, I've seen it.
Love Love will turn you around.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Did he ever play that live?
I don't know. I think the movie was actually later after I saw him. That was the movie about where he finds these like a family of kids that are like have no parents and they become his pit crew because he's a race car driver.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
good one. Okay, I have to
that one
listen
sticks
to
to
that.
my head. I like some of the ones of stories, so kind of like the Gambler, like Coward of the County,
Yeah.
those kind of things. The ballads are all nice and all, but yeah. So that was one of the first ones that I saw. It was one of the first concerts. So other people would have been drawn to you saying the Rolling Stones, and now that there I go. I say Kenny Rogers. So my coolness factor just totally, yeah, it just totally lost my coolness factor, and we are 6 minutes into this podcast. So yeah, which
I
is
love
okay. Yeah,
No, it's totally fine. I love it. Kenny was awesome. He
yeah.
launched my career, so I definitely have so much respect and for him, and yeah, such a great
Plus, I was
guy.
one of the few people that probably went to his chicken place because I love Kenny Rogers chicken. There was one growing up right near my house.
Look at
Had the
that.
Loved it. Didn't last very long, but absolutely loved it. Yeah.
I
But
love that.
so how do you get from so now you're an intern, you get your big break. Let's call it a big break here to get to go on this. But obviously you've turned it into, as you said, the Rolling Stones, Lady Gaga, Richard Branson. I know some other names here. So how do you get from being an intern on his tour bus and
Yeah,
basically turning this into a career? So you finish with him.
finish
So
with him.
now what? So now you're back in Toronto after the tour, and then what happens now?
Back in Toronto, and I was obsessed with doing more and
Mm-hmm.
doing as much as I could in the industry. So I reached out to as many people as I made contacts with out on the road with the internship, and I was incredibly focused on
Mm-hmm.
my goal of being back out on the tour bus and back out helping people. And that's actually one of my biggest business lessons that I
Mm-hmm.
now teach entrepreneurs
Yeah.
is, and what I've learned from myself and from watching the very famous people that I support, and that is focus. Like obsessed focus on your goal, on your mission, and nothing is going to get in your way of completing that and getting to the finish line. Obviously things are going to change and
Mm-hmm.
pivot, but if you have that focus, that's what I see amongst all of the celebrities that I've supported. And why I know that they are a success is because they are just so darn focused on
Right.
that end goal. So yeah, I
So
was
how
focused.
Yeah. So how is it balanced though? So now talking about I guess these lessons you teach now, and you hear that obviously some of the most successful people, will do anything, and won't rest and that kind of thing. But there's also a balance in your life, whether it's a spouse, kids, having or even taking the opportunity to meet someone in that to develop that aspect of your life. So at what point does focus need to come with some level of diversification or with like a limit? Because all in to focus on one goal oftentimes doesn't that mean that you're giving up or not having something else?
That's actually a great question. And it's something that I get asked a lot. And I also struggled with it back earlier on in my career. when I actually came off of the road, I know we're jumping around a little bit,
No,
but
no,
when I
that's okay.
came off the road and opened up my first business back in 2007, I had no business background. I was a
Mhm.
dirty roadie,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
sure.
that did not know what I was doing, but I had this dream of helping as many people as I possibly
Hmm.
could, and that's it. And so way back then, I Googled, and Google was like, not as sophisticated as it is now.
Sure.
And I Googled, how to run a successful business. And it kept telling me to hustle. I was like, I don't like this word. It's not tactical to me. Like,
Mhm.
tell me send 5 emails a day, and I will
Right,
send 5 emails a day.
right.
I didn't understand hustle. And to this day, I don't like the word hustle because I feel like it's making people just do a million things in a million different directions and seem busy, but not actually get momentum on their goals, on what is really productive and will
Hmm.
drive things forward. So I learned that. I was like, oh, I need to fill my calendar with as many meetings as possible. And I need to, go meet people, and I need to be driving around and going to events. And I guess this is hustling. And I
Hmm.
didn't get anywhere. And then I remembered my focus. And I took one goal of what I wanted to do. I wanted to help, 4 big celebrities. Back then, my goal, my first business was a personal concierge business where I
Hmm.
helped high profile, high net worth individuals. And so I wanted to help 4 instead of 1 by the end of the year. So
Hmm.
everything I did and the hours that I wanted to work and not get in the way of, my other
Hmm.
life, I focused 100% on whatever those tasks were that would allow me to make a little momentum, a little movement towards that end goal. So
So
I
you
think
set
the
you set a parameter of
the parameter.
10 hours a day, whatever, 8 hours a day, whatever it is. But at that point in time, that focus shifts to whether
Totally.
it's reading a book, going on a hike, going on a date, whatever it may be.
Yeah. And sometimes, obviously, the people who are successful are the ones who work the hardest.
Hmm.
It doesn't necessarily mean the people that work the longest.
Hmm.
You can be incredibly productive. There's all these 4-hour work weeks, 4-day work weeks, all of
Hmm.
this thing. There was actually a study out that said that people are actually only productive for 2.5 hours every day. That's all we
Hmm.
can actually focus and do productive work. And so, yeah, so you can, work 20 hours a day, but are you actually being
Right.
productive for that end goal and what you're focusing on? I don't think so.
Well, I think two things you said there, I totally agree with one, and I totally disagree with that study. And I agree. If I'm working 18 hours a day and I go through tax seasons here, and
Yeah.
yeah, if I'm here hour 13, hour 14, yeah, my mind just isn't working as sharply as it did.
Nope.
But I also think 2.5 hours of productivity in a day is severely a misstated low number.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, if you're disciplined and you're focused, you can be productive for way more than 2.5 hours a day.
I'm going to agree with you to a point.
Hmm.
And I think it is if you are not context switching. So a lot of people
Right.
will say, I am the master of multitasking. I hate that word. I'm actually on a mission to remove that word from the dictionary because there is no such thing as multitasking. Our brains can only concentrate on one thing at a time, and
Hmm.
we are actually context switching just really, really quickly. If we're sitting in a meeting and also doing emails at the same time, you're kind of going back and forth and you're not really 100% focused and present on one
Agreed.
thing or the other.
Yes.
So
Right.
if
If I
you
was
are
talking to you right now on this screen and I'm
yeah,
doing an email on this screen, I could say I'm multitasking, but when I'm sending that email, I'm not listening to what you're saying.
nope. And then
That's
your
I
brain is coming back in. Oh yeah, I have to listen.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
they
agree with you.
called my name.
Yeah.
And we're making the human race is making ourselves exhausted by
Yeah.
trying to do all of these things all at one time. So, yes, we can work more than 2.5 hours a day, but we have to be really clear on what we're working
Sure.
on,
Sure.
and that we are not trying to switch between a million things
Mhm.
at once. And that's where great time management comes in, and time blocking. And, in the mornings, I'm going to block time off to say, do emails. Great, but actually block that time off to do emails. Don't do emails, then scroll social media, then get sidetracked on something else, then, check your bank balance or whatever it is, because you're going to make yourself exhausted by the end of the day, and you're not going to get more than 2.5 or 3
Right.
or 4 hours of productivity in a day.
Yeah. The struggle that I have with that is, in public accounting, I usually have a plan for the day. And
Yes.
especially during tax season, where I'll get in at 6 o'clock, I have my plan for the day. I want to get this done, this done, this done. And that rarely happens. But a lot of the time, and sure, sometimes it's probably my fault, but a lot of times it isn't my fault. It's a client emergency. It's an email that comes in that changes the course of the day, where someone as a financial transaction, something else that pivots and requires my attention. So I think a time management tool is awesome, but how does someone not just become utterly frustrated when their plan of attack, like you said, goes out the window 5 minutes into it?
Yeah. You're preaching to the choir over here. Working with celebrities, I
Mm.
always have an amazing plan throughout the day, and then I
Yeah.
get a text message and I'm off running doing something else. The great thing about planning out your day before is that you know the priorities, at least a couple of them, that you want to hit before the end of the day. So,
Yes.
yes, you can have an awesome plan of like, I'm going to check emails, then I'm going to focus on this bigger project work, then I'm going to do whatever it is, take this meeting. You can get that email when you're in your kind of
Mhm.
focus email mode in the morning, and then you're off running doing the other
Right.
things. When you come back to,
Mhm.
okay, I can breathe for a second. What was I doing? Your plan is there, and you can actually now see what you actually wanted to do throughout the day. Or when you're exhausted at the end of the day because your clients or
Mhm.
whoever it is has you
Yeah.
running in a million different directions, you can then take a moment and go, okay, I really wanted to get this stuff done. Let's move it till tomorrow and see how much of it that I can get done. I think people make a big mistake in thinking that time blocking is like fixed times and you can never deviate past it or around it at all. And I think that's where a lot of people fail or say, I'm
Yeah.
bad at time blocking or I don't like time blocking. But time blocking is actually meant to kind of help you focus on those like big priority items that will drive
Mhm.
your goals and your mission forward. But it's supposed to be fluid. So, I can block an hour for something. I can be feeling really creative in that moment and somehow manage to take 3 hours and go into another time block. That's okay. There's nothing saying that you can't do that.
Right.
It's just making sure that you're doing those productive and priority tasks throughout the day and trying not to context switch as much as possible because that's what's making us exhausted.
Is part of the problem with all this nowadays, these things,
Ah,
where
yes.
where we don't leave, I don't want to say leave home without it. We don't leave a room without it. Where if we're going from the den to the kitchen, I got to make sure I have my phone with me. Now, sometimes it's needed because, your kids might be calling you and stuff like that. But again, I grew up where there were no cell phones. So if my parents switched rooms, the only way I was reaching them was calling on the house phone anyway. Uh, it feels to me, both work related and non work related, that you're never able to totally turn it off, and you're never able to really focus on something because this is always a pending interruption waiting to happen.
Agreed. I actually love trying to go analog as much as
Mhm.
possible, at least when I'm setting up my days, or my calendar or my tasks. Because if I put, a task or my to-do list on my phone, then I'll go, okay, what's next? Open up my phone, see all of those like social media
Yeah.
messages, those emails, whatever, get sucked down that rabbit hole, 3 hours later, what was I doing again? But if you have it like on a sticky note or on, a piece of paper, a notebook, whatever it is, you can't really get distracted by those social media kind of, or whatever is happening on your phone. I'm also a big believer in trying to put your phone away for as much as you can throughout a working day. People can get you a million other ways. There's, emails and Slack and Teams and like a million other things. I also like turning off my like Slack notifications in my emails when I am really trying to focus on something and get something past the finish line.
Yeah.
So, no, I am a huge believer in trying to put the phone away as much as possible. And you can train people too, right? So you can train the people in your, work environment or who's ever kind of pinging you and expecting you to answer
Yeah.
3 seconds later or immediately. You can train them that you're not going to actually
Well,
answer for an hour.
it's funny.
And the
Yeah.
world's not going to end.
Well, just literally last night, I'm sleeping at 11:30, and I had my phone on in case I got a text because my daughter was out in case she needed, whatever. And I get a text, so it wakes me up, and I look at it, and it was a text from a client at 11:30. Wasn't an emergency. It was just sent you an email, want to make sure you got it.
Now,
So
did you answer it?
I did, but this is what I said. Please
Okay.
don't text me at 11:30. You just woke up, my wife and I.
Yeah.
I will look at this in the morning.
Yes.
And he did not answer me, but I got it when I got to work today. There was an email apologizing.
Okay.
He goes,
Good.
"That's my compulsive, whatever." So, kind of talking to your training, I basically trained him on the spot, saying, There's
Yeah.
nothing so important at 11:30 on a Monday that can't wait till 6 a.m. And if you don't want to forget, email me. But you don't know if my phone's on or my text is on, and mine happened to be on last night. A lot of nights I'd have it on silent.
Yeah.
But because my kid was out, I want to be able
Yeah.
to hear it if she needs me.
So you can set your phone to
Mhm.
only ring or make
Right.
notifications for specific people, which is
Correct.
also great.
Which is great.
Um,
I wouldn't think
I
though a client's calling you at 11:30 at night to make sure they got
No,
an email.
it's true. My
Yeah.
clients do, and I've
Yeah.
trained them that a
Right.
lot of my clients are on a different time zone than I
Sure.
am. So
Yeah.
so I've trained them that like I try to sleep through at these specific hours, and if
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't sleep, you're not going to get the best of me tomorrow. So like don't
Right.
email me or text me unless something is on fire and I can help, because sometimes I can't help. Sometimes you have to call 911 as
Right.
a
No,
celebrity
absolutely.
assistant. You're like the first person they call, and sometimes I can't help. So but yes, you can definitely train people, and it takes time.
Yeah.
It's also a habit that everybody has to form. So it's a habit
Hmm.
that you need to form for
Oh yeah.
better time management, and it's a
Hmm.
habit you need to form to train other people as well. And it's not going to happen overnight. A lot of people will come to me and be like, well, I tried that for a week and I don't get it. It's horrible. I'm never doing that again. But it's the same as running on a treadmill. Would we go and run on a treadmill for an hour and expect to lose 20 pounds? No,
Right.
of course not. So it's this habit that we have to form in part of a healthy lifestyle.
Sure. So part of what you do besides the time management is you kind of help people just organize their lives, and so forth like that. So I think there's two aspects to that. Is you can help organize something, whether it's a particular project. And I know you've done some fun organizing of celebrities. I think, what I read correctly, like Sandra Bullock's office and bathroom, Justin Timberlake's closet. So using him as an example, it's great to organize his closet. But when you're done and you leave, what skills does he have that is going to keep his closet organized? Because I could clean my closet today, and if I'm then going to come in tomorrow and put the shoes back on the floor like I normally do instead of putting it on that, isn't your work going to be a waste of time potentially in about 2 weeks when we're all messed up again? So
100%.
is that also like a habit forming thing where you can lay the groundwork, but then there's only so much you could do and someone's behaviors potentially have to change?
Yeah, definitely. So whether you're organizing a closet or organizing a business, you don't just as a, consultant or an
Mhm.
organizer or whoever you are, you don't just come in and do it and then leave. There's a lot
Yeah.
of training involved to be able to help the people continue on in the process. So Justin Timberlake is always going to have a messy closet. We actually organized it. We archived everything in it because he heard Elvis did it and wanted his clothes archived like Elvis. So there we were. We were counting underwear and socks and everything else.
Now,
But
is he
kind of
helping? Is he part of this process with you, or is he leaving it for you?
no. So him, he's leaving it for us.
Yeah.
However, normal people,
Yeah.
when we go in and we help them build businesses
Mhm.
or organize their lives, it's a process and a discussion of what works best in your life. Going back to me Googling how to run a successful business,
Mhm.
we can Google anything. You can Google
Sure.
time management. You can Google how to organize a closet. You can Google whatever. And there's only going to be like 5 or 6 actual steps on, you know, better time management, better organizing, whatever it is. We're not reinventing the wheel here. But what we are doing is telling you, and what I'm doing is telling you that whatever process you take, whether it's time blocking, whether it's picking your shoes up and putting them in this fancy box that we've made for you, whether it's setting a great morning routine, turning off your
Mhm.
phones, whatever it is, it's setting that habit of actually doing it. And there's the productivity industry right now is over 8.4, I think, last time I checked, billion
Wow.
dollars. So there's 1,000 people out there telling us what to do. There's millions of apps in the App Store of how we can track habits and, kind of
Mhm.
form habits or what habits we need to form. They're all the same. Drink
Yeah.
water, wake up early, exercise. Like, again, we're not reinventing the wheel, but there's nothing actually out there that will do the habit for you. So I want to drink 8 glasses of water a day. There's nothing that's going to pour that water down my throat. Well, not yet. There's no
Right.
robot. Maybe there is.
Right.
But
You have to make it happen.
you have to make it happen. And that is the only thing, in my opinion, that separates successful people from non-successful people. Is the people who are successful are, again, 100% focused in whatever hours of the day they have in making those habits a success.
Mhm.
Drinking those 8 glasses of water, actually running on the treadmill for 20 minutes a day, eating a healthy diet. Like, we all know how to lose weight. We can do it. Do we?
Right.
Only if you're super, super focused on it.
That's depressing. You mean I just can't hire you to make me like lose weight? Damn it. Yeah. It'd be so
There's
much.
people out there,
I
right,
know. I
that will
know.
sell
Yeah.
it to you, personal trainers.
Oh
I
yeah.
will help you lose 20 pounds this week.
Mhm.
Will they? No, you have to put in the effort of not eating
Yeah,
those,
you're the one sweating. You're the
donuts.
one starving yourself. Absolutely. So, how do you, without getting into specifics, when you're retained by someone to do something, whether it's as simple as not as simple, when it's something like doing his closet or time management, how do you come up with a fee structure for that? Is it a time based process? Is it a task process? Like how do you as a business owner determine, okay, what is this worth?
Yeah, that's actually a great question and something that evolved over time. So, again, with no business background, way back in
Mhm.
2007, when I was doing a little bit of research, it seemed to me like everyone was on an hourly basis.
Mhm.
So I did hourly, but it's hard to count hours when you're doing tactical things like organizing the closet. Fine, I can count hours.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of things that went into it. Like, oh, I wanted to go to the store and look for a specific product to see if it would fit in the closet or whatever it was. And it's like, do I count my time in traffic? Do I count my time
Sure.
talking to the people? So it was hard. So very quickly, I actually switched to a project-based
Mhm.
model. And I am a huge believer in services being more project or kind of retainer based than hourly based. And I think as service providers, we cut ourselves short a lot when we're trying to count hours. And I think that consumers, our clients and our customers don't necessarily understand everything that goes into what we are, putting out there in the world and putting towards all of our effort. So they see this bill like 25 hours and they're like, oh, well, you were only at my house for 5 hours.
Right.
And then you have to always explain to yourself, explain yourself. But if you have this, package base or retainer base or whatever it is, I think service providers can grow their businesses exponentially
Sure.
rather than trying to count hours. So yes, for me, I have packages or projects based on who I'm helping. A lot of my celebrity clients, they're just, monthly packages. And if I'm organizing closets or helping them backstage or whatever it is, it's just all my monthly fee. But businesses, if they want, a project and helping their teams get better organized or a workshop or whatever it is, then it's obviously project based.
Okay, let's have some fun now. So
Okay.
you don't have to give me names.
Yeah.
So what is the craziest thing one of your celebrities has asked you to do for them, let's say under this retainer agreement?
Okay, so I actually have a couple. One of them was actually my aha moment in why I wanted to come off of the road and start my own business. So one of the crazy rock stars that I helped, his request was he wanted his toothbrush sanitized in hotel dishwashers every time it traveled. So every time it came out of the suitcase, I had to go down to the hotel kitchen and ask if I could put the toothbrush in the big industrial dishwasher with nothing else in it, let it run the cycle, and then go back up to his hotel room and put it, on his sink to the left-hand side always. And there we go. There was definitely moments when I thought, can I fake this? But I was too nervous to actually not do it.
Was
So
buying
there,
a new toothbrush out of their budget, or
I don't know, very attached to this one toothbrush. So yeah, it was crazy. So I was in Shanghai actually in one of the most expensive hotels. And I was in, the kitchen in the back trying to explain in English. They didn't understand me that I had to put this toothbrush in the dishwasher. And I just remember standing there with like this toothbrush in hand, thinking there's got to be more to life than this.
this
So
is what it's come down to.
it's what it's come down to.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
that was kind of my big aha moment. I also tell stories of Mick Jagger a lot. He always wanted his hotel rooms painted a very specific shade of beige. If you are a Rolling Stone fan, sometimes I get the comment, and he wanted to paint it black back at me as the joke. But yes, a very, very specific shade of beige everywhere we went. So we were
And
in
hotels would accommodate
Dubai.
that?
Yeah, money talks.
Yeah.
And we would put it back, like we would paint it beige and then we would paint it back to whatever color they had. But we were in Dubai, and in another very expensive hotel in the presidential suite. And it had very old gold leaf wallpaper. And we took the wallpaper down, painted it beige, and then put the wallpaper back up when we left.
You see these things in like movies, and you always feel like they're over accentuated for entertainment purposes.
Yeah,
And
I
then
lived it.
you read about, and I've been backstage with some clients who've done some touring, and they have their list of their required snacks, so they submit to the arena. And I've seen those lists, and I've seen very reasonable lists. A 6-pack of apple juice. I want saltine, nothing out of line. But then I've heard, and who knows what's true or not, that some of the requests that people make are like, come on, like seriously. And it's not even food. Like, I want to have, a little fish tank with 7 goldfish. It's like, come on, what are you doing here? And I honestly believe that I think a lot of times they do it just because they can do it.
Yeah. People always ask me why.
Yeah.
And, I spent so many years helping rock stars. I
Mhm.
learned very early on in my career not to ask why.
Yeah.
They do some crazy stuff. You just don't want to know why sometimes. You
Well,
don't want
sure.
to be involved. So I don't ask why. I can assume though, and my assumption is, well, at least for Mick Jagger, it was comfort to him. It was like a habit.
Hmm.
And we spent sometimes 300 days a year away from home, and it was something that he could control.
Sure.
So, he could come into any hotel room and it would always smell the same, feel the same, look the same. And then he could zen out or do whatever he wanted to do in that hotel room and get ready to put on the best show for all of us. So that's also why he would run on a treadmill for an hour before every show, so he could
Hmm.
have the energy. Because he was is really passionate
No,
about
sure.
putting on those best shows he can. So yeah, so again, the goldfish and things like that, who
Yeah.
knows? There's obviously that famous story with Van Halen of picking the brown M&Ms out, and
Yes. Yes.
They did it so they knew that people actually followed the list. So I think people have taken that a little too far,
Hmm.
and yeah, come up with some wild stuff that who knows
Crazy.
why it's actually on there. Goats. Rock stars love goats for some reason. There's
Oh, we
always
all love
goats
goats.
in hotel rooms, backstage.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
No,
many
I'm pretty
goats.
confident I do not want a goat in my hotel room. I have no problem saying that right now. Yeah, and I was thinking as you were talking there, I couldn't even tell you the color of a wall in any hotel I've ever stayed in. But I guess for me, I'm about to entertain 70,000 people, so I guess I don't need to zen out,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word. All right, so I didn't want to put you on the spot to say any thing negative, but now I guess we can do positive. So of all the people you've worked with, celebrities, who have you enjoyed working with the most? That's the only one I'll ask you if you want to give a name.
Um, with you. So I spent a lot of my career with Mick Jagger.
Mhm.
So Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, both amazing human beings. I also really enjoy working with Sandra Bullock. She is as amazing as she appears on
Right.
TV and in interviews. So those I would say would
Yeah.
be my top,
Yeah.
but there are so many that I've Richard Branson is also an
Mhm.
amazing human. So yeah, there's lots of them.
All right, so we kind of ended like we started it a little bit. So we talked about Kenny Rogers. So favorite Sandra Bullock movie?
Oh, I, I I might get fired here because I
Oh,
don't
I
know
don't
if
want
I've
that to
actually
happen.
seen any Sandra Bullock movies. Uh,
You haven't seen any?
Name one. Can I name one? Can you name one?
I could probably name a whole bunch, but it's you. Can you name?
Yeah,
I
I
guess the
don't even
question
know
is,
if I can
can
name
you name
one.
one?
I've been on many Sandra Bullock sets. Pitch Perfect. That's one, right? No.
I I really hope if people are listening to this podcast, they're watching it on YouTube instead of listening to it, so you can just see my facial expression there. And I'm probably just gonna look awful because I am a girl dad, but that's Anna Kendrick is Pitch Perfect.
What's the baseball one that Sandra's in? That was before I started working with her.
The baseball one.
I think she's in the one with the baseball, isn't she?
She's in
No,
one with football, which
The Blind Side.
The Blind Side, which was going to be my answer for one of my favorite Sandra Bullock movies, The Blind Side. But yes,
That
that
was
was
before I started working with her, but yes.
well. Most of the movies that I would say are my favorite Sandra Bullock movies were definitely some of her older ones. So before Speed, which was the
Oh,
first
of
movie,
course. I've
which was
seen Speed.
oh, there you go. Then all
Yes.
you had to do was say Speed, and we could have ended this entire conversation 10 minutes ago. But that was before I knew she was anything. Obviously, that was the first time I saw her in a movie.
Wasn't that one of her breakout roles?
Yeah, I think it was that. I think that was her big one, and I forget the timing. But I think she was in a movie that I never saw. I want to say with Wesley Snipes called like Demolition Men or something. And I
Oh,
believe it was right around the same time because I think some people had already seen her before. That was the first thing I saw her in. And the other one, if you like the romantic comedy route, While You Were Sleeping was a great one. I would
Right.
recommend that if you like a good little, rom-com with Bill Pullman.
Yeah, I'll put it on my list.
You got
You
to put it
know,
on your
I
list.
have to say that I get a bit jaded when I see people that I know and I've worked with on the screen
I agree with
because
you.
because it's just a whole different vibe. I can't really go to
Yes.
concerts because I know everything that's happening. So,
Yeah, I have gone to. I have clients that are on TV. It's weird, especially when you just talk to them, 10 minutes earlier, and now you're watching them as a totally different character.
yeah,
I've watched a TV show with someone that's on the TV, and they've sat next to me.
yeah,
Very interesting experience.
yeah,
And so forth. So yeah, it definitely jades you. I've been to concerts similar to what you have, where you're backstage. So
yeah,
they're on the stage, they go off the stage, and you're having a conversation with them.
yeah,
And then 2 minutes later, they're back on stage. So you're seeing it from a totally different perspective. And then I've seen that same show either before or after when you're in the audience and you're not seeing what goes on behind. So you have
yeah.
a totally different perspective of that same show.
Totally different. I
So
always
yeah,
giggle when I'm out in the middle of the audience and I hear people go, "Oh, let's go and find their like limo coming out of backstage. Let's go get their autograph." And I'm like, "They're not coming out in a limo, but fine. Okay,
yeah.
go find it backstage
Well, I remember
and
seeing one group
autograph."
in Atlantic City, and obviously, when you're staying at the casino, you stay at the casino. The celebrities, they have their penthouse or whatever. So I honestly think people believe they're just going to come down the normal elevator, and they're going to walk into the theater, not realizing, okay, there's a separate elevator. They're
Yeah.
going probably either right into the back of their venue, or they're going into a back hallway.
Yeah, usually through the kitchen.
Right,
Everything
right.
happens through the kitchen.
It's like when you watch all the presidential movies and they're walking to give their speech, and you see them walking through the kitchen with the chefs all like clapping for them.
Always. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of funny how people have a different perception. But
Yeah.
tell us about how people can find you and follow you for some more of these skills, or I'm sure you put out some good content.
Yeah. So my website, Tarra Stubbins, Tarra with 2 R's. And my company is takeiteasygroup.com. So tarrastubbins.com, takeiteasygroup.com, and you can link to all my socials through those websites.
Yeah, YouTube channel or anything, or
No YouTube, but I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram. And again, they can all be linked and found through those websites.
awesome. That's great. Well, listen, Tara, this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed talking to you. Definitely got some things, you talked about your focus that are definitely things to think about, and enjoyed, as always, the little celebrity tidbits. So I appreciate you taking the time. I wish you nothing but continued success.
Thank
And
you.
it's been a pleasure.
It's been great. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to Adeptus On-Air. If you like this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. If you have a question related to this episode or have a request for what you would like to hear, please email us at marketing@adeptuscpas.com. You can also find us at adeptuscpas.com online or follow us at Adeptus on social media. The views and opinions by the podcast speakers and guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of Adeptus. This podcast provides general information only and is not intended to constitute advice.